Welcome, everybody, to Week 8 edition of the Audible. I will quickly apologize for either my voice or coughing or anything that may occur. I know a lot of people like to leave DMs and stuff about that noise, but I am battling through sickness. But this is an important week. There's a lot going on, a lot of moves in the last 12, 24 hours, and probably still more to come on in the next 12 hours. So we wanted to get this rocking. With me as always, partner in crime, Tambo at Toe Tag and Tamboline. How are you doing tonight, Tambo?
I'm doing good, buddy. Like you said, there's a lot going on here, and the Breeze news. They kind of fed us a little bit of the information early, but not all of it. So the running back stuff they're making us wait on, but the quarterback stuff they gave us. No Matt Ryan, Drew Brees in. So a couple pieces of information there that I think are key to the slate and could open up a bit. But I think everybody's hoping to hear your big call this week because you've got 2-3 in a row now that you got the nuts on Saturday night. So what are you feeling this week?
I was going to share. I mean, I was late putting the projections out. Even though I was sick, I was called to go to a 9-year-old party to chase and police, and that was a ton of fun, I can tell you. But I got most of it done before I left. Just came back, so I'm digesting it as we get on. But I guess I missed the Tannehill chalk week talk. Where did I miss that at? I don't. What am I missing there?
Yeah, so I guess you're right. Yeah, that's come around quite a bit. So
I guess he's probably got high YPA, yards per attempt, so he's chalk. Is that
YPA is the theme of the week? Yeah. Right. No, I think what it is it's the home game, it's the price, it's the fact that Tampa Bay has made pretty much every, call it mediocre quarterback. They're all in the league, so it is what it is. Not going to downplay anybody, but a lot of quarterback. Daniel Jones in one of his debut games put up like almost 40 DK points on him. They are a pass funnel. It's extremely tough to run on them. People assume, obviously, he's going to have to throw at home, and there's hoping for the best. I don't think he's necessarily bad chalk due to the price, but I do think, and I'll comment on it quickly and see what your thoughts are, but I did talk about this a little bit in Slack, is that I think people are going to automatically double stack because you got Jonnu Smith, you got A.J. Brown, you've got Corey Davis. All these options are cheap, and I could definitely see a double stack busting up people's day. Oh man, Tannehill got 22, like that's more than enough. And Davis got this, but friggin', AJ Brown didn't do shit, or Jonnu Smith didn't do shit. If I'm stacking them, and I am in my MME pool, I'm only gonna single stack them, and that's just my opinion. Because I think then you can fit anything you want in the lineup. And yes, a double stack could go off here, maybe do it in a few if you've got enough lineups, but I could easily see that busting up people's day this week here.
I mean, I guess I got to go back to it's still the Titans with the same coaching type stack. Slight advantage, probably, maybe more than a slight advantage on the offensive line as far as rushing. I mean, I just see them as trying to control the clock, control the game. They're at home, let their defense make Winston make turnovers. The only way I see Tannehill living up to the chalk is if it's a shootout. And I mean, that would be, based on Vegas, would be not expected. They're one of the mid-lowest totals in the game. But if Jameis turns over the ball, they're going to run the rock. I mean, the Tampa Bay doesn't have like a great D-line to stop the run. It's even at best. And I don't see a game script that says that hits. I guess to your point, the 5,100 is what attracts people. I have no attention. I don't have any allure to it. Are you? I mean, I know you're 7,500 lineup guy on that sense. You got to probably take some, but do you go 15, 20% on him? Or, how do you approach that?
No, I'll be underweight. Like I think your ownership percentage is pretty accurate with 15. I might only have like 7%, put them in 10 lineups and that sort of thing and see how it works out. Get a couple with Corey Davis, a couple with AJ Brown, a couple with Jonnu Smith, a couple double stacks. There's 8 lineups. That'll work out to like 6%. I'll be 10% less than the field because I'm sort of with you on that. Like you say, it'd take a lot to get there, but I also do see a path. Like I said, the one thing that stands out is that normally you don't see this with Tennessee at all. They got a 24-point team total, and I just don't think they can run. Like we talked about on the coin flip this week, CMC couldn't run on Tampa Bay. He got there on 2 touchdowns to get to 22 DK points or whatever, but nobody can run on this team. And so if somehow they're ahead or behind or whatever, they can try and run, but eventually it's likely that they have to throw. So I can see it. But like I said, I really only look at this way. Once I said to another buddy earlier in the day, Tannehill and Jonnu Smith cost $7,900 combined. you can do whatever you want in your lineup. And just a couple weeks ago in the Dome game for Mahomes, when he got injured and dudded out with 20 DK points, we paid $7,500 for him. Again, he has a way higher ceiling. It's not a comparison in the sense of what they can do. It's at what you got for the price. So $7,900 for Jonnu Smith and Tannehill, I don't mind, because then I can pound whatever I want into my lineup, and I'm doing it hoping that they connect for a touchdown or two. That's their days, but then the rest of my lineup smashes, and I've got the upside that way.
Yeah, I guess I'll just have to be different this week. I mean, I'll drop down $100 to a Derek Carr in a potential much higher pace scoring game with Houston, or I'll go up $500 to a Jacoby Brissett, who's 3%. Carr is 1.9%, and I'll take my chances there on ownership leverage. To your point, yeah, if I'm building 50 plus lineups, maybe a different strategy. But if I'm in that bullet 3-5 lineup, I'll just pass on that situation. I think because if you're in that big of a deal, most guys are going to be building similar, and it puts you on similar guys elsewhere. And so because there's some value this week at quarterback, I think I would take it. I can see both sides of it, definitely. I mean, if it hits, it hits. And if I'm doing 20 plus lineups, I don't mind taking my share of it. I guess I was surprised at being one of the highest, if not the highest. We'll see how it shakes out tomorrow. Ownership. So it wasn't that I expect. I mean, like 8-9% would have still been high. It still would have been top 5 or 10. I guess to see it that high kind of surprised me. Stafford, obviously, we were pretty high on. I was definitely all in. He's coming in. Apparently, I wasn't the only one, so it wasn't real rocket science to get there. At 6,100 and almost 16% on DK. What are your thoughts tonight on Stafford?
Yeah, still on him. I think he's a great play. I think, regardless of ownership, it is what it is. His price is still right. His team total's high as well. They've got a good matchup. The Giants can't really stop much. I think it's all about with that. It's fine, because that's one of the deals that we always talk about, where the quarterback chalk doesn't matter so much. It's how do you pair them up? And I think you had some good points on that on Wednesday when we talked. And, you look at down, and I'm skipping ahead, but if you look at some of the ownerships that, Hawkinson, super low owned. You look at, Marvin Jones, doesn't look like people want to go back there. They the 4 touchdowns was a fluke. No way he can do it again. The only guy that really looks to be getting the ownership is Golladay. Yep. And that's fine. I'm just saying I can put a Golladay Jones. I can put a Golladay Hawkinson. I can put a Hawkinson Jones. There's lots of ways to use Stafford and still be different. And then again, on the other side, people still don't know what to do, because if you look down at, Barkley, much lower than some of those 7K range guys, even though he's still 14%. That's not very high for normally when people are all over team jam him in. And then, the Tate revenge game or whatever other narratives you want to look at, there's a lot of guys you can run it back with that don't seem to be too popular. So it just seems like Stafford is the only popular one with Golladay and nothing else around him. What's your take there?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, my gut instinct when I kind of ran it out was I would take Stafford, Jones, and Hawkinson, and I would easily run it. I would just plug in a Cooper Kupp at 9.2%, or even a Bobby Woods at 4.9%, same price as Golladay, and say I still got my Lions leverage, and when I think could be a good game, Jones can equally, because I mean, from all tape I've watched, I'm not even going to get into the whole bullshit Twitter, YPA, YPC, and I have an opinion on that, but I'll reserve. But Jones, for the most part, probably will be covered by Janoris Jenkins, which we talked about Wednesday night. I'll take him at 7%, and then I'll just go elsewhere. And if Golladay has a big game, so be it. But I can still get my Lions stack and be different elsewhere. So I agree. I didn't expect Golladay to be the number one percentage by any means, which is why we talk about Wednesday. It's important to be a part of the premium membership and be able to be here tonight, because things change. Mm-hmm. Before we leave quarterbacks, with Matt Ryan out and probably one of the worst backup quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, starting. I've said this for 2 weeks now. You know that. I think Atlanta's garbage. I think they're done. I even think that more stronger now. What say you on Russell or that whole team? Like, how do you try to just say they're going to take advantage of it and Russell still gets his, or just going to get up and I mean, what do you think there in that? It's the highest total on the slate. It may have come down with Ryan being out. I just don't see Atlanta being productive with everything that's happened. Am I missing something, or do you think that happens?
No, I think you pegged it before it happened, and that's the facts, right? As the week went on, the more you look at it, I was going to have, here's the thing. We both, I think, liked Carson, or at least I know I loved him. And I think he's going to be extremely popular. We're about to move on to running back. He is based on the numbers. But what has me, thinking now, like the thing I was going to do is I was going to go, if Ryan was in, I was going to play Wilson with some stacks because that would leverage the field for all the Carson usage and be able to still use guys like Metcalf or Lockett or whoever else you want to mix into the bunch. But now I think it takes the allure away from that a little bit. So I'll be, probably way low. I'll be similar to Tannehill. I don't want to miss out if Wilson does it. I still do want to leverage the field some on that Carson ownership, but I'll be high on Carson in non-Wilson lineups. And I think the best play now is the Seattle defense, which hasn't really been talked about all week by anybody because the $2,900 defenses are right there. And Seattle D is $2,800 and now gets to play Matt Schaub, who someone joked was what's the over-under on pick sixes? 1.5. Like he's bad. So, I mean, that Seattle D can be hungry, and we could see that be just what you said. It could be a stomp down. It could be 28-3 Seattle over Atlanta this week for all we know. And I think you called that on Wednesday pretty much before the news even came out. So to me, I think Seattle D is the play now more than any of the quarterbacks and the backup plays and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard for me to leave it at 6%, but I kind of just, I mean, it's a road D, which isn't normally looked at. High total, and I'm all in on 2,800. See,
that's nothing for Breeze in this matchup at home in a dome because people aren't adapting late. And to your point on the Seattle D, it's not going to get to the number it should be. So either way, we're gaining leverage at 6% or 8%, or even if it gets to 10 somehow. I don't think it will. Like you said, it's a road D and it's late. We're adapting when we should be and getting on these late plays when no one else is even changing their lineups.
Yeah, I think I probably will bump Kamara because I think Kamara does better with Breeze than what he was with Teddy for whatever reason. And so if you're going to give me, and what kind of, I mean, that kind of wraps up quarterback per se. I think maybe the only other one's Goff's showing 5%, which is massively low. Potential play there. I don't know if I'll get there. It's definitely a good situation, but it also could be a run out the clock second half type deal with the Bengals. The way the betting market's going is that the sharps think the Bengals keep it somewhat close. Something to keep an eye on. $6,800 Goff, though, I think with what's transpired with Brees starting, which is $500 less, you got Brissett, you got Carr, you got Tannehill. I think Watson and Goff probably take a step down on their ownership because of all the value, and people try to jam in elsewhere because they got value now at quarterback. And so you want to be contrarian, I would flip, and a guy may not play Wednesday being Goff or Watson. I may have equal shares now or more if everybody's going to go that route. I think Breeze is playable for sure. I mean, because it's not like a shoulder or anything like that he's coming off of it. I mean, if it's ready, it's ready, right? So I don't think he's going to really struggle or he wouldn't play, right? Because they got a bye week next week. Yeah. So they could have just said, hey, let's just sit one more week and you basically get 3 weeks of rest and come back and, we get this week off, next week off, and then you get another 6 days and you come back. So apparently he's got to be feeling pretty healthy to come back versus the Cardinals at home as a double-digit favorite. So he's certainly in play, but rolling over the running backs, you got, pretty good. I mean, I'm all off Ty Johnson at 25%. I don't know if I'm sure it'll hold up because there's not much. We talked about it Wednesday. There's not much value down low, and he's probably the only one that you could consider that. Latavius Murray, I show high, but where are we at on Kamara as far as I've been kind of busy all day. I looked before he came on. I didn't see any updates. I assume he's going to play, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't announced it yet still, right? That's going to be the overnight news that we're waiting on, and that will change things for sure, if that's the case. And, I think people will find the money from Ty Johnson to Murray if Kamara's out, because that's just obvious. So, you're missing a guy. They just saw what Murray did last week, so on and so forth. Right now, it's kind of up in the air. There's no official word on it yet. So I think Kamara plays only because Breeze is playing. I think that it's going to be the same sort of situation. I think that if they're bringing Breeze back for it and he's okay to go, like you said, they've got a bye coming up. If they couldn't play, they wouldn't play them. So it'll be interesting to see if Kamara's out. I like Latavius Murray at 5,800 for the role at home, everything. I don't mind using them at all, but it's right now your ownership's look about accurate for where we are with the news.
Yeah, and I expect, I'll be way overweight on Kamara if he's active because I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, you're well more inversed in this than I am, but I don't think if he's active, people jump up to the 7,600 Kamara. I think they go elsewhere. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, and not only that, you got to remember they're already there, jammed in on Fournette. So there's a couple of good pivots. We can talk about that here now. Is that Fournette, like you just said, Kamara, like you just said, is right there, and everyone's on Fournette. I mean, Adam Gase, and the Jets have already said they're looking to sell out to stop Fournette this week. Now, it doesn't mean they can. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it is what it is. But I don't know if that's going to be worthy of a pivot or not. But I don't mind the Kamara pivot. I especially don't mind the Kamara pivot at these ownerships, because even if he gets up to 10, 12, he's just not going to get high enough. It's too late in the week for people to adapt. And Fournette might be higher than the 22 that you have him at right now. He might actually be pushing 25 in something like the Million Maker. So I don't mind that pivot. And then another one I'll get your take on is the Chris Carson chalk. And then if you go down to Bell is about half the price. Jacksonville's missing 3 of their linebackers. Darnold's got another week under his belt. He doesn't have to face the Patriots this week, so the ghost thing should go out the window. I don't know. I don't mind Bell as well as a little bit of a pivot there off Carson, especially if we see everybody on Carson and then move a little bit to the passing game and just not need him as much as the game goes on. I don't know. I like Bell as well in that game instead of Fournette on the other side.
Half the ownership, right? Not half the price. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, my bad. Yeah.
No, yeah, and I agree. I mean, so I don't mind Bell. If Bridgewater was playing and then Kamara got active, I still wouldn't have interest, because I just don't think Kamara's been the same without Breeze for whatever reason. However the dynamic works, it's just been that way. Now that Breeze is starting, Dunn said, signed, sealed, and delivered. If Kamara becomes active, I'm all in on Kamara, and I'll fade, Fournette and that ownership. It'll be a risk because you don't know what Kamara's coming at. I don't think he'll be 5%. He'll probably be a little higher, but I think most would go, well, I'll just go to Gurley or Fournette. I don't trust, Kamara could get hurt, blah, 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 blah. Again, I like Carson. We agreed on that. I think they'll try to pound the rock, let their D win the game, not get crazy on the road. If they're home, maybe Wilson's in play, but Wilson could have a fine game, but I don't think this game's competitive come mid-third quarter, and so that worries me about any kind of Seattle, but I definitely don't mind Carson. With McCaffrey and Barkley's situation, they're both on the road. One's injured. Their other is 14%, which is a little low for CMC, but 9,200, I think people are going, I'll just find value elsewhere. I really think that mid-range allows you to have like a Kamara or Sony Michel or James White. I like both. I really could be talked either way or the other. I think with the way that the weeks worked out and the way, if you go back 2 weeks ago, watch the game film, the way they utilized White with the injuries they had, this is going to be a similar week. The unknown is how much they get Sanu in by this point, which could hurt a White per se. I definitely wouldn't change or chase a Sony Michel at 5,200 after 3 touchdowns, but I literally could play both and not I don't want to say feel comfortable, but it's, for 10,003 for both of them, it's not out of the realm that they both get, return their value by any means. But if I had to choose one, I'd probably go White right now. I think you're on the same based on your articles. Has anything changed since you posted those?
Well, no, it's just one of those things. Like, you got to get the content out. So I let everybody know at 2:00 in the morning. I'm still up, ready to write the thing, but it's just, if there's all this news to wait on, I said, why not just wait till the morning? Hopefully get some more news. The big one, like you just said, two good points you brought up. One, I think it could be swayed either way, but I kind of like White, and that's why I wrote it up, because if Burkhead's out, even if Sanu's there, I think it's still that game with Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward back. I think it's going to be those short passes across the field. I think Edelman will get there, and I think White can eat. And then Sanu maybe shows up, right? Maybe he gets involved, and it is what it is. They welcome him to the team. But the other thing you brought up, and I think it's more of an afternoon-only play, it would definitely be contrarian on the main slate, but there's just so many damn options that I don't know if you need to go there and all the value. But in the afternoon-only slate, playing both Sonny Michel and White is a great play. Like you said, for the combination, even put those two with the New England D and just hope to wipe it out, because the afternoon doesn't have a lot of these running backs on it that you got to sift through. And McCaffrey's there, but you're kind of getting to, if you don't like McCaffrey for the main, you can hedge and get some exposure that way in afternoon only, but do you really like him or not? You got to decide. Now, I'm not as high on him, right? I don't know how that game plays out in your mind, but I don't see a big game, and I don't just want to play him because he's low owned if I don't really like him, right? I do like Barkley. We just saw Cook eat against these guys. The question with him is his health, and I don't know where that's at 100%. but you got to hope that it's where it's at if you're going to play him. So I'll mix him into more of my lineups than I will McCaffrey.
Yeah, and I think a potential high scoring game, I didn't really say this, but kind of my sneaky of the week, especially maybe naked, is Kyler Murray. So we finally get him 6,200, 4 point percent, and you can be creative with how you stack against some of the other people the way they're going to stack. You don't have to play anybody else Arizona wise. And if you look at the stats and then mix in watching tape, New Orleans does a great job against the run. I think they'll stop, but I think whether it's DJ or Edmonds, I think, is DJ out yet, or is he still game time decision?
He's game time, but they did bring on two different running backs, right? They signed two guys earlier in the week, so the assumption is that he's going to be out. And the reason people aren't on Edmonds, as per your ownership, it's like 11. That's probably about right where it is right now, because even with everyone assuming DJ's out, they're scared of the Saints D. They don't want to use Edmonds. But I have a different opinion. I'm sort of where you're going with it. I think continue on, but I'm on Edmonds this week, especially if DJ's out, which I assume he is.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind going Kyler, Edmonds. I think out of the backfield will be a problem. And I think New Orleans, just based on the way I see things, and we'll see. This is a big test for Arizona. I don't think they win by any means, but I think New Orleans, the way their discipline works and their scheme and defense, which I won't get into the details or any of that. I think Kyler could have a decent, if not above decent, running game. I think he'll be able to run if he wants to pull it down and go. I think it'll be a faster paced game. New Orleans likes to push it, especially with Breeze in there. Gives Arizona more possessions throughout the game, and you could see this game even if New Orleans covers by chance. I could see a 42, 32, 42, 28 type game where Kyler is a very sneaky $6,200 that I virtually see hardly anybody going to because there's just so much noise up there in quarterback.
He's doing it again. Gubb's doing it again, guys. He's got it. That's the call. I think that's the call because I'm always, and we spinning right when you're talking here. And I'm saying, we just talked about what's everybody in the industry doing with the sneaky play, the last minute $6,300 Drew Brees. Everyone's getting on that. And guess what's going to happen? The guy that was $100 cheaper on the other side of that same game with Breeze back in the game, which makes it more competitive. I think Breeze makes for a better game for Kyler in the dome and passing attempts than it does if Teddy Bridgewater was there game managing it, right, and controlling it.
Right, exactly.
So I think you just called it. I think that's going to be the play, and I think people are going to be on the Breeze side, and it's going to be the Murray side now. That's a great call.
Yeah, and then run it back with who you think if you want to go up to MT, if you go naked Murray and then go Kamara. We'll get those guys in, whatever, and then build around it. You have options. Yeah. You won't have to worry about any kind of ownership or any of that. So I definitely agree there. Running back wise, elsewise, I really don't. We talked about it Wednesday, and there's not much that's broken as far as just super, super value. Is there any like a Derrick Henry at 5%, a Chubb at 4%? Is there anything you like?
No, the guy I like actually down there is Marlon Mack, and I'm sticking with it, right? Like I said, we talked about it before. Denver has been running on the season. I know they're a good defense value too, which we'll get to later, and you could almost play either side of that. But I did write up the Colts D, and I think I was a week early on it last week when I wrote up the Mack over Hilton. Obviously, Hilton got there, but for $100 more, you could add Mack, and then the $2,200 Colts D. Obviously, they got a price bump, but I don't mind going back to the Indy D with Marlon Mack with that O-line, at home, 24-point team total. Joe Flacco looks very disinterested on the field. He lost a weapon. Again, you and I talk about this all the time, but everyone's going to go to Cortland Sutton, which we're about to get to wide receiver, so it's a good segue, but Sutton or Deshaun Hamilton or what's it going to be? And I don't hate those plays as a one-off or as a mini stack with Mack on one side, them on the other, and just leave the D out of it. But I also think that also makes it easier on the defense, right? Pair up against Sutton, who already has a pretty tough matchup. Deshaun Hamilton may be good. You may want to get on him early. I'm going to play some tournament shots on him, but very little because he's 3,300. It's a price play with upside, but I don't think it's a great offense or anything. So I think you could run Mack and the Colts D without a problem and get them for a pretty cheap combination in GPPs that nobody's on.
No, I agree. And someone asked me why I didn't have Hamilton on the deal. And I could have put him in there. He's up. My opinion is more of, and I said it Wednesday night, the Broncos are the Falcons, are the call it. And I get worried about that becomes a very disinterested. And you got 20, 30.
Oh, you're chopping up a little bit there, Gup.
Sorry. Oh, it looks like am I back on?
Yep, you're all good. Sounds like it anyway.
I'm gonna pass. I think he's gonna be once people start.
Yeah, if you need to switch over, Gup, it's all good. We
All right,
can
go
do
ahead,
that.
Sam.
I think I missed your last little bit. I wasn't quite sure who that was you were talking about, but I mean, you mentioned Deshaun Hamilton. I know you were talking about him, and like I said, we're going to segue into wide receiver anyway before we get to some of the questions after a little bit here. But I think the biggest thing with wide receiver is all the chalk. So, you know, if you look at the season as it's gone on, the chalk has pretty much completely failed in any of these large field tournaments. So you got your Gallaudays, who we've already talked about. You've got Hopkins. You know, you've got John Brown, and we'll talk about him and go through it. But the biggest thing is going to be sort of who do you match up with your stacks? And, you know, we talked about it with Stafford. So are you off? Are you out on Galladay, or are you in on Galladay and just mixing it around him?
Man, 20% is tough.
It's hard.
I mean, yeah, in a 1-3 lineup build, if you're being unique elsewhere, I think I could still be there. If I'm building, 50 lineups and I gotta go massively overweight to be there, I don't know. I could probably just go all. I mean, because I think Marvin Jones, I don't think that was a fluke. Now I don't expect him to get 4 touchdowns, but because of the matchup, I think he could still return value if it. And I just like other guys right there as well. I mean, Godwin at 6% is very attractive. Robert Woods, Ty. There's so many options there that I don't think I have to lock into that 20%. In my opinion, if you're building 100 lineups, how many do you have?
That's the thing. And so for me, I will only have him in Stafford stacks, or if I run some Daniel Jones lineups as, maybe a one-off on the other side, but Daniel Jones will make the lineup unique enough with his side, like a Daniel Jones, Tate Ingram, run it back with Galladay, then I'm okay with it because I already know the lineup is going to be pretty unique running a stack that way. So I don't like him as much. I'm sort of with you on that. I definitely don't like these high-owned receivers. My other one that I want to talk about is Tyler Lockett, 18%. I don't know about that one at $7,000. I mean, I will easily, and you just mentioned him, go to Godwin at that price without even looking back twice. Like I could just fade him completely. What's your take on Lockett at $7,000 and 18% ownership?
Agree, because I go back to the second half. Seattle may not even be looking to force the ball down. I mean, they just may be running it, and they could be up by 3 touchdowns by then. So 100% agree there. I'd rather go to wide receivers that are going to be in more competitive games at that point, especially at that price.
Right. Well, plus Metcalf, real quick. Metcalf is $2,000 cheaper and leads the league in end zone or red zone. I can't remember which one it is. One of the 2 targets. So I think at $5,000, I'd rather take a shot on him to get there early, and then they just tail off in the game. Use them as a one-off or in a stack with Russell for cheaper.
No big news on tight ends. Is there anything defense-wise before we get to the questions that has changed since Wednesday? Obviously, I think we both don't mind Seattle with the situation. We both like the Colts. Is there anything else? Is there a scenario where you pay up for the Patriots?
I was just going to say that's really the elephant in the room. Real quick, the Colts we will talk about, but that's sort of over the Jags now. It looks like I think the Jags are still going to pick up quite a bit of ownership, and with them missing 3 defensive linebackers, I'm not as sold on them anymore. I also think, like I said, I have a feeling Darnold is going to have a little bit of a bounce back game here. And it's not just about the points scored and the opportunities. I just think he'll protect the ball a little more, and Bell could have a pretty good game, bleed the clock, less chances. So definitely like the Colts. The Patriots for sure, like I just said, that's the elephant in the room, because you either take the Patriots or you can pay down all the way, but then you also have a couple pivots there in the Rams and the 49ers. So it's tough. I think the thing about the Patriots is that in like a cash game or like a 1-3 max with a small field, I'm not actually against them, because honestly, if you could tell me there was a $4,300 player that averages over 20 points per game, that's in a pretty good matchup again at home. Road Baker doesn't really scare me that much. I think they're going to keep it tighter, but I still think he can make enough mistakes. And that defense just looks so good that it worries me a little bit to be off them completely. So I'm still going to have to play them, but I will mix and match. I probably won't go over 15% on any D in my MME pool, and I'll mix and match in the Rams and the 49ers as well. I think they're just in great spots, and it's tough to say from there. What are you going to do with them?
Yeah, if I'm building 3 to 5, I don't know if I get to the Patriots unless I wind up going enough value and they're just there. But being 15%, which, my rule of thumb is 85 out of 100 people aren't going to have them. If I can fit it and it works, I don't mind it. But with plays like Seattle, Indianapolis, even the Rams, 3,800, a little bit of savings there. I definitely don't mind that options in a lower build type. If I was doing MME, I certainly would probably have I'd have my fair share of Patriots for sure. I mean, if I'm doing 20, you got to have, four of them out of 20 and you're good. So I would do that if I was going that route because I think it's worth it in the scenario. We will go to the live questions before we hit YouTube. For a 1 to 3 max entry, best wide receiver under 5,500, Sutton, Mike Williams, Stills, Westbrook, or Fitzgerald. Also, he says thoughts on Sanu being with the first week of the Patriots.
Well, if I miss the boat on Sanu on week 1, I get that you want to be in on things early and get there, but I just don't care. I don't think Sanu's very rarely broke a slate, so I'm not too concerned if I miss that one. I know they've got a high implied team total. I know that, anything could happen. The weather is supposed to be choppy in that game. You definitely got to keep an eye on that. Not sure, how bad it's going to be. It's supposed to be raining or whatnot. So like I said, I still see these short passes. I see him fitting in there, but I don't see enough. And there's already so many value plays. And then to answer his question, like if Keenan Allen's out, I will be playing Mike Williams. I love that play at 4,000. The guy is due for, I can't say due all the time, but I'm just saying he's been killing it as far as opportunities go, air yards, whatever you want to talk about. He just had so much opportunity and hasn't got there yet that I think it's his time. And at 4K, if there's no Keenan Allen, that's another injury that we got to wait on. I think he's a great value. Other than that, the obvious chalk value is Kenny Stills. But again, I think he's good chalk at 4,700 or whatever he is.
Yeah, I agree. I think we talk about the, darlings of the week or eye candy per se. And I think everybody's going to, Sanders left, so Sutton's automatic. Well, I mean, just handicapping the game. I think Denver's trash right now. I mean, they're garbage. So why would I go to Sutton I don't think that game spells well for them. So I'm not just because Sanders is gone. It doesn't mean Sutton's going to do any better. Hell, if anything, it means the defense can focus on him because they don't have to worry about both of them.
That's what I expect to happen for sure. You nailed it. That's exactly what I expect to happen.
Yeah, so if Didi's one we're waiting on injury, is right. Yep. I mean, So if he's in, I like him. I like him Wednesday, but we'll see how that works out. Otherwise, I 100% agree with you.
Real quick, let me ask you this before Hot Soup, because there's two guys at 3,300. Do you play? So let's say Didi's out. Do you play Conley for Jacksonville or do you play Deshaun Hamilton for Denver? Both 3,300.
Conley all day. Because I expect that. I mean, the way I've handicapped that game, I think that game's more competitive and they need to get him involved. I don't think the other way has to happen just because he's out.
Exactly. Okay, I'm with you. I have the same opinion. So I just I
already talked about Ty Johnson, but versus the Giants, good matchup, but they weren't really. I mean, Kerryon Johnson had some good games, but it wasn't their focus point. I had the Giants in this game outright winning. They're one of my super contest plays in Vegas. So I don't have to go there. And if he's going to be 20+%, even if I'm a little high at 25, I want no part of it. What about you?
So I'm in the same boat. I think if anything, the carry-on thing being gone helps out Stafford more. Hence why we already talked about the Stafford being the chalk, but only Galladay being the only weapon. That's sort of like, you know what I mean? I'm not all about a Stafford, Ty Johnson, Galladay lineup. There's just no way I want any part of that. And then the other part is, Matt Patricia already came out this week and talked about getting both guys involved, him and McKissick. So he's already talking about it being a split. It never was Kerryon's backfield. It was always sort of a chop up for him. He got it for like one game, quote, kind of. And then on top of that, you got Patricia mentioned something about trying to trade for another guy. Like they just don't have enough confidence. I think, some of the guys in the industry have talked about Ty Johnson in college and whatever, and I'm sure he's great, but it's not going to be someone I'm just going to go all in on in the week or have a huge share of because of that. At 4,900, there's lots of other guys that we can play instead.
I agree. Let me see. My screen is all right. Well, he can't hop for 1 to 3 max bed wide receiver on a 5,500. We kind of already talked about that. Yeah. So not going to replay that. But for a 3 max, Allen to Brown stack a stretch. I still think the Eagles are gettable. I don't mind it. I like it. I do think the Eagles secondary hadn't improved. They're still injury bound. What do you think?
A couple things. One, there's weather there as well that's going to be talked about. I still actually like it. I'm going to stick with it. I'm just going to run it those two and that's it. I'm not going to get cute and move around everything to make a big stack fit or try a Dawson Knox in there, anything like that. I'm just going to run it to Brown. And I think what a lot of people haven't, followed enough, at least in the industry, I don't see anybody really talking about the odd one or two, is that John Brown's ADOT has come down since last year, meaning he's taking shorter routes. He's getting in the slot more. He's catching shorter passes and doing more that way. So I think he becomes more valuable when that's the case. He's not just the bomb away that everyone thinks you need. Obviously, that's what makes his value for the week. If he catches one of those, that's, automatic, but he's still doing the other things to get to those. I think he's one of the only other receivers besides Michael Thomas to have every game over 50 yards or something like that, or maybe all but one, but it's a stat like that. It's just an unknown fact on John Brown that everyone thinks he's just this boom bust, has to have that big TD bomb. That's what breaks the slate with him or gives massive value. He can still get you value early on, and then that can happen in the fourth quarter for you. It doesn't have to happen right away.
I agree, and I was on him last week. I don't know for sure if you were, but I did like it. I know you were on Allen, so I assume you had some Brown, but yeah. Weather concerned, yes, it does look like potentially ugly game. Any game up there in the Northeast. Obviously, I'll wait till tomorrow morning to check and kind of update and Slack. Is there anything you feel wholeheartedly on tonight that will dictate your build?
No, not really, because I think, you'll know better than I will from sort of the handicapping space. But I think, most people say from my history of learning and going through it is that unless it's like 15 miles per hour or higher, it's not really what everybody thinks. I remember a couple games last year, there was a Carson Wentz game where everyone got off him because of like 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, and he went out and dropped like almost 40 points. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Plus, they don't have to throw bombs every time to make value. They could throw a 10-yard, 14-yard slant that somebody takes to the house because the other guy slips due to the weather. Like, there's still ways to get there in weather. We've seen Shady McCoy in snow games go off and break the slate. So, to me, it's not big enough. It's not a big enough deal to worry about just yet. Unless I hear something different in the morning, it just becomes noise to me. Might have lost Gup here. He's frozen, I think. I'm going to jump over to the Slack just so I can pull up the questions, guys, while we wait for Gup to come back around. Just give me 1 second here, and I'll pick up right where he left off. So looks like the weather was talked about. Someone mentioned they live in Buffalo. Yeah, that sort of thing. If it gets up to those 30-mile-per-hour winds, then, yeah, that's going to be a little bit more of a concern for me. But right now, like I said, it's not on my docket so far. So, Gup's going to look into that. Mac Apple asked, which chalk play bust this week? I got to look back here. So I would say Galladay's a potential for sure. Anytime it's a wide receiver like that, definitely want to be looking at that. I think Lockett, if he's actually going to be closer to 20, to Gup's point, I think he's nailed it all week since Wednesday. I don't think there's
very many. You back? For the most part, am I back?
Yeah, gotcha.
Why it's happening? Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, weather-wise, I agree. Most time it helps the offense more than it does, and it has to take like a massive amount of rain. And a lot of these fields aren't even natural grass anymore, so there's not as much slop and mud. And if there is, it helps the offense more than it does defense. So I wouldn't be off anybody. The big win helps. The passing is where it affects, and that's what I'll wait for in the morning before I make a decision there.
Yeah, I just think it ties in with the John Brown question, though, right? And that's why I brought up that point about John Brown, is because people are going to see wins in Buffalo and go, holy shit, there's no way you can play John Brown because Josh Allen can't throw a 40-yard bomb to John Brown anymore, so he's dead value. And that's just not true, right? Like I said, he could chuck it to him for 20 yards or 15 yards, still no problem. And then John Brown could do his job. He's in the damn NFL. The guy knows how to take a pass to the house. He's not just some I can only catch it because I'm fast guy. He can do other things, and he's shown it already this season. So he can easily get there. like I said, with weather, it doesn't affect me unless it gets super high. And honestly, it won't affect me for my John Brown decision. Plus, Josh Allen can run like crazy. So I think that stack can be made up just on Josh Allen's legs alone.
Is there any more questions in the Slack that you didn't get to yet?
No, Mac Applechick, she asked about who's going to bust this week. And I said, I think you nailed it with Lockett and then possibly Golladay, just because everyone's on him and people think that Marvin Jones or Hawkinson or the others can't get there. So I think Ty Johnson, Lockett, and Golladay, those sort of options are for me, the ones that I think can bust. What about you? Might have lost Gup again, guys.
Yeah.
Apologize.
It comes on how you're building. We talk about it all the time. If you're
all right, he's gone. Yeah. So guys, we'll shut it down from there just because it's not working out. But I think we got the majority of it in. We got all the questions in the live. I know Gup's going to be in the Slack. I'll stick around for a bit. If you guys have any other questions, reach out to us there. You don't got to just put them in the NFL channel now so everyone can benefit from them, right? We'll respond there, tag us, whatever. We'll get back to them as soon as possible. I'm going to go hit up, some meal here with the family. Maybe I'll do a hashtag food post and we'll pop it off from there. So thanks to JB and thanks to Gup. We'll see you guys in the Slack.